I really need to talk to Andrew about this. This is not good. Andrew, hey, it's Shaun here from, National Manager and also Cashmere Technical Manager for this phone call.
Shaun, congratulations on qualifying us for the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, you're a bit late to the party for that, but thanks. Also, before I talk about Cashmere Technical stuff, I've sent through an email. Georgios now wants to change from being Cypriot to New Zealand before the World Cup, so he wants to play for us. I've sent for all the paperwork, he's signed it all. I just need you to send that through to FIFA, because I know in the past, New Zealand football doesn't always get the forms through to FIFA in time. I want this done now, not just before the World Cup, so he might miss out, okay?
I'll get someone onto it.
Yeah, I want you to do that, not one of your minions, because I know your minions up there aren't too good.
Okay then.
Okay, now that that's covered off, I'm trying to schedule a pre-season here before the OFC Champions League, and I've just noticed something in the rules. We can't schedule a pre-season before the start of February. Are you guys even allowed to rule on that?
That's correct. We don't want any teams getting an unfair advantage.
Okay, does the fact that we're now a semi-professional club have any impact on the fact that we have to follow your rules?
They still apply.
We still do?
Yes.
Okay, because if we get drawn into Group A or B of this Champions League and Auckland City get in Group C or D again, they get a longer pre-season than us before that Champions League starts, and that seems like an unfair advantage for them. And they're already professional, and we're now not. So can we just start our pre-season sooner or something? Why do we have to follow your rules like that?
No, Shaun. We want as level a playing field possible for the National League.
Well, yeah, but it's not fair for everyone, is it? Because if we have to go in Group A or B, we only get 1 week of pre-season.
The OFC Champions League is not my concern. That is luck of the draw.
Andrew, it's not luck of the draw. All I want is to start our pre-season in January. Can I do that or not?
No, Shaun. We have to also consider things like player welfare.
No, okay. Andrew, what if Auckland City requested this? Just out of curiosity.
I'd consider it.
You'd consider it. Andrew, it's sounding like you're really in favour of Auckland City actually winning this OFC Champions League instead of us.
While they are a professional club, it's probably better for New Zealand.
Andrew, we're the champions of New Zealand. We're better than them. I don't care if we're semi-pro or not, we're going to beat them. Just let me start the pre-season earlier so we don't get embarrassed in the group stage.
Sorry, Shaun.
Andrew, it's a simple request. Andrew, don't you hang up on me, Andrew. Oh, Jeffa.
There's a party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 56 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical, and come up today, going to start the third season with our club in the National League and hopefully pick up the title that's eluded us so far in this save in the OFC Champions League. We'll get stuck into the group stage of that competition off the back of running through a few transfers that we have done heading in to the start of the new season. So if you're looking forward to all that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but we ended last week with the National League Grand Final against Auckland City and also a quite significant bit of club news. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner because it's going to get spoiled pretty quickly once we do get stuck into the transfers that we have made. But yet again, we go into this group stages of the OFC Champions League, having been drawn in Group A or B, so it does mean only a week's pre-season heading in to this tournament, which is made all the worse by the fact that these days, of course, we are only a semi-professional club. In fact, it was back there, semi-professional these days. That was the big news that did come late from that episode, and I did want to keep things pretty stable going to this year's OFC Champions League anyway, after we did struggle early stages of the group phase last season, so not as many transfers as we did last year, but still, we have done a couple. We'll just run you through those before we do get stuck into the action, and hopefully this time go through the group stages with a perfect record. And our transfer activity did start on the 1st of January. Those previous transfers were mostly taking part during midway through last season, as technically haven't actually switched over yet into the third season of the save in game, but starts off over on the right hand side, a couple of fringe players in Michael Fleming and Ryan Hanna, who were down in the B team or out on loan. They've been picked up on free transfers by the Central Coast Mariners and Canberra United respectively. Also, Tomislav Barisic actually made his way to the club from AFC Auckland. That was a transfer that we had in the works for quite a while, seeing as his contract did expire. They're a player that we signed up there back when we were in charge, but unfortunately didn't get to use him because of the registration bug. Fairly promising right back come left back, I do think. A bit more natural as left back, with that left foot being a lot better than that right one, but certainly a good backup option and probably a little bit better than someone like Julian Pike, who was sitting on our bench last season. So Tomislav Barisic does come in on 1k a week. He's on a professional contract, because we were still professional back when we did get that deal done. Also actually signed someone from our youth intake, and that was Chen Cheng Sung. His potential actually ended up being a bit more than I thought it was once we did get to the later stages of those youth candidates being at the club. Sort of snapped him up, the first youth intake player that we actually signed here at Cashmere Technical, because he's the best one we've had so far, and even then, that's not too great. So Chen Cheng Sung is a player who could actually feature in this Champions League, because we can register 30 players, and he did make the grade with that potential. Just going over and seeing what else we did do in order. Off the back of that, did actually sell a couple of players before we bought some, and that's the main reason that we've bought these guys in on the left-hand side, just to make up the ones that we did get rid of. Giorgio Paras was in the B team for most of last season after the acquisition of Jamie Fletcher. We sold him to Sydney United for £2,600, not too bad for a player that we did pick up on a free going in to our first season here at the club. Also off the back of that, before we actually made an in, Jose Pedro, we let go to Western United these days. Foreign left back in behind Adam White did feel like a bit of a waste of a foreign spot. Jose Pedro over in Australia these days, getting £10,000 yet again for a player that we did pick up on a free. Before we actually made our next transfer in terms of someone coming in, we did bring in Jordan Courtney Perkins. This was a player I was considering bringing in halfway through last season, seeing as he is still on the path to becoming a New Zealand resident after his time with us at AFC Auckland, but back then he did have a bit of an injury which would have kept him out for the remainder of the season. As it works out, that was actually quite good, because we picked him up on a non-contract, so hopefully we can keep hold of him just long enough so that he can qualify for the All Whites, albeit not too sure how high up the pecking order he will be, being a centre-back. It's a fairly strong area, especially with the likes of Georgios Victoros also in the mix these days, but Jordan Courtney Perkins comes to us on a free after 104 appearances over 4 seasons at AFC Auckland. So that was the first incoming that we did make properly going into this new season. Then a big transfer that we did actually make, and it was to Auckland City, of Jamie Fletcher, 150,000 rising to 170,000. That is a club record spend for our main rivals here in New Zealand, and also the team that is our main rival as well in the OFC Champions League. Did sign him for a lot more than this last season, Jamie Fletcher, so he didn't spend too long at the club, but I did think this wasn't a bad idea considering he's pretty much a fringe all-white these days. Probably not the worst idea to sell him to a club that's actually professional, so he can train every day. We do make a loss on that transfer, having picked him up for £375,000, but to be fair, these days he was behind Aiki Tsukamoto, so it did feel like a transfer that we could make, especially seeing as that was actually over his market value when he was here at Cashmere Technical, and especially because not too sure what's going to happen with a lot of these players once their contracts do expire at the end of this season. If they actually want to stay at a semi-professional club, could be a big turnaround in terms of our squad going into the next season of the safe. So it might be a bit of a final ride for some of the good players that we do have here at Cashmere Technical. But Jamie Fletcher, definitely the biggest out that we did make, and also got rid of Aristide Equala, the right back, who we did bring in as emergency cover for Callan Elliott last season. He's gone out on loan to these Brisbane Roar. So those are the outs that we have made, and to counter that, we picked up a lot of players on free transfers and non-contracts. The first is actually a new first choice right back. It's kind of replacing Aristide Equala, a little bit better than Callan Elliott, so hopefully that will be useful, especially because Nico Kerwin actually retiring after the upcoming FIFA World Cup this year. So right back, definitely a position that we do need to strengthen in the All Whites. And Luis Enrique out of Brazil on a free transfer does look good enough to potentially feature for the national team if he does stay around long enough to qualify. Say he's on a non-contract at TGLI, he's here full-time on £350 a week, but that's not too much of a wage So I did feel like that was a good idea for a first team starter. So that's one new player who makes his way into the first 11 for this new season in Luis Enrique, formerly of Cruzeiro de Arapiraca. And as well as that, brought in a few other players who do help us bolster numbers here. We brought in Sergio Mosquera. This one was actually more of a youth player, seems I think we can do that more now that we're signing players on non-contracts. An American 18-year-old defensive midfielder. He will actually feature quite a bit for us though in the OFC Champions League as the backup to Aiki Tsukamoto off the back of the sale of Jamie Fletcher. And that's because our last two signings, they didn't arrive until after the registration deadline for the Champions League. A couple of familiar names in amongst these. There's actually three of them. Another youngster that we did sign in Aldo Medina, another American at 18 years old with some decent potential, but he is a bit more of a central attacking midfielder. But also we brought in as the backup for Tsukamoto, another reunion from AFC Auckland in Teo Watema. He should be a very decent option, even though that current ability and potential doesn't look too good. But the former Wellington Olympic man and AFC Auckland man can be the backup for us here at Cashmere Technical on a non-contract. And also we brought in Sam Brown as a backup for Lorenzo Janssen in the central attacking midfield role. And that's because a few players did leave on a free transfer at the end of last season who so far have not been picked up. And Bailey Sullivan, and I did let go of my son, which is probably a bit controversial, but I did think Nelson Suburbs were going to pick him up. They never put a bid in. I was hoping he'd spend some time with his Uruguayan mum, but it now looks like he might actually sign for Nomads instead. So I'm a bit disappointed in my son, currently still loafing around the house. We'll just see where he does end up, but I did feel like we could improve there in that central attacking midfield position. Also, hopefully he'll go to a club and actually start for them like he did for our first season here at Cashmere Technical, where to be fair, he was very close to being player of the season. But Sam Brown, the new backup in central attacking midfield, we did get him on a wage, a proper contract. That's because Auckland City were also sniffing around for him. Those were the transfers that we did do. We did also almost sell one of our starters in Ollie McGoldrick. That would have been for a fee of £35,000. You can see it there, but thankfully he actually turned down the contract from Auckland City. So even though he's only been here for one season, he's a good loyal boy and does want to stay in the superior city of Christchurch instead. So those are the transfers that we have made going into our third season here at Cashmere Technical. As you would have seen briefly before, it does mean our first choice 11 is very solid from the team that did win that National League Grand Final at the end of last season. Just Luis Enrique comes in as a regular starter. Adam White usually starting at left back, but for this first game of the group phases, he will not, because he's not quite on a full green heart after the brief pre-season that we have had, coming back from a bit of an injury and making our way down. Here are all the players on the bench who are registered for this Champions League. Lots of young players who you might not recognise, but we are able to register 30. As I said, unfortunately, Teo Watema and Sam Brown, they come in a little bit too late to be featuring in the Champions League this season, but they can feature for us in the midweek games that we will be playing in the Southern League. So that's what our squad does look like going into this new season. Not much change, as I said, and it does mean in terms of the season preview for the National League, albeit not too sure how much weight this holds since we haven't actually ticked over into the new season yet. Still red hot favourites with all our players making up the Dream 11. So hopefully we can actually pick up the Champions League this season after we got done by Auckland City on penalties last year. And as I said earlier, we did end up in Group A, which does mean with a very brief pre-season going in to this OFC Champions League group phase, albeit that probably would have been the case anyway, seeing as these days we are only semi-professional, just two friendlies, some inter-club ones there against the Turtles, and also the under-20s. Group A, I dare say, might be a bit weaker than the group we found ourselves in last year. Of course, we did draw the first game of the group phase last year, which did make the episode a little bit longer than I would have liked. But this year, we've got AS Central Sport out of Tahiti. They picked up a 2-0 win over to Papa Maralenga out of the Cook Islands. And the first opposition we take on is West Tribe FC out of Papua New Guinea. No idea how good these teams are. Half-star reputation for West Tribe. We'll just check in on the losers out of the Cook Islands. They're also a half-star, and we'll see if AS Central Sport are any better. That might be our toughest opposition with 1-star reputation that might be a game that we need to come back for, seeing as that's the second one we do play in the group phase. But considering how good we've been so far in the Safe to Imagine, with a pretty settled squad compared to what we brought to the OFC Champions League last season, hopefully we can this time make our way through the group stages nice and smoothly. The last 2 games are at the GMP, so that should definitely help us as well. But the first one, where we're going to take on West Tribe FC, is at Victoria Park, and that happens to be in the Cook Islands in Rarotonga. And we haven't played there before, so before we get stuck in to the first game of this OFC Champions League, it's time for a bus trip. And we start off our bus trip by trying to find some accommodation over here in Rarotonga. Now, there were 2 options near the top of the island, which is where Victoria Park is, so I did want to stay up in that top area around Avarua. One was the Club Rara Resort, which, to be fair, is a lot cheaper, and of course these days we are a semi-professional club. Also the Islander Hotel and Spa, which does look a little bit fancier in terms of the price, but to be fair, both hotels' ratings are pretty similar, so I think we'll go to a cheaper one, especially seeing as these days we are semi-professional. So off we go to these days, the adults only Club Rara Resort in Rarotonga. A quick look at what we're looking at here in terms of a trip. It's a 2-minute drive, so not very long at all to make our way to Victoria Park. And surprisingly, there is actually street view here in the Cook Islands, albeit not too sure how long this is going to last, so it might be a bit patchy in terms of switching between this view and this view for this bus trip. But here's where we're staying. It's got some decent restaurants in there and also some bars. Does look like a fairly good option for the price over there in Rarotonga. Lots of scooters as well to hire to drive around the island. Maybe a scooter trip instead of a bus trip. There's our accommodation. Now it's time to make our way a little bit closer to where we're playing in Victoria Park. We'll just see how long we can actually go here on Google Street View before things do get weird. But to be fair, it's working so far. We just go past there, one of the local shops. We'll check on that, because this could definitely be interesting over in Rarotonga. Shop and laundry, not the biggest outfit, but they do have fresh donuts, groceries, frozen goods, cold drinks, cooked food and more. Open 7 days. Probably doing some good business near Club Raro, so we'll make our way past that and continue a bit closer towards Victoria Park. And continuing to make our way now towards Victoria Park, and next up here on the right hand side towards the ocean, as you'd expect, it is the Cook Islands Game Fishing Club, catching lots of big fish over there in the Cook Islands. Also looks like they serve beer, so maybe a fishing trip and a couple of beersies with the boys while we are over in Rarotonga. But we'll keep making our way now down the road, and after having to jump past a little bit of road there, which would have taken us past the Tamarind House restaurant and ukulele bar, which also could have been a good option, but unfortunately couldn't get much of a sight of it from the Aratapu road because Google Maps over in the Cook Islands not the greatest. But we're making our way now a little bit closer to where we're playing this game in Victoria Park. You can see lots of scooters around, very much island time here over in the Cook Islands. Quite thankfully, don't actually need to have a different passport to make your way to Rarotonga if you're a New Zealander, so that's quite nice. No need to worry about customs or anything like that, which should help most of the boys out. To be fair, some of our new ones might still have a few issues, but we're starting to creep our way now a little bit closer towards Victoria Park, which is coming up on the left hand side here in just a little while. And unfortunately wasn't able to click on too much more on our way here to Victoria Park, the ground where we're playing this first game of the OFC Champions League this season, but here it is. This was just taken back in January, so it's fairly up to date. As you can see, very village feeling this is. A couple of football goals out there, so thankfully it is set up for that as well. It looks like as a bit of rugby as well, as you'd expect from somewhere pretty close in terms of culture to New Zealand. But there's the ground for this first game of today's episode over in the Cook Islands and in Rarotonga, and hopefully this time we can get off to a winning start as we take on West Tribe FC. And here are the team sheets for this first game of the OFC Champions League in 23 of the group stages for us here at Cashmere Technical. There's our team, best 11 apart from the fact that Barisic is in for Adam White. And if there's any West Tribe FC fans out there, there's what your team does look like. 4-3-3, come to this one in some pretty good form, but hopefully we can pick up a win and this time get off to a decent start in the Champions League. And a little bit concerningly, it's actually taken a wee while for the first highlight of this game. 15 minutes gone and there is a goal kick there to West Tribe FC, but thankfully we do win that one in the air. Now Shusha is on the ball. That pass a little bit behind Tsukamoto. Could be a bit loose early here in only our third game in this new season, but thankfully our new right back there and Louis Enrique with a lovely ball forward to Stephen Lopez sweeps that one home into the bottom left corner, and first highlight does result in a goal. Looked a little bit dodgy there with that pass from Shusha to Tsukamoto, but thankfully recovers well, picks out Enrique, and that's a really nice ball there in behind the defence, and Stephen Lopez will grab the opening goal after 15 minutes. Albeit it's taken quite a while before the next highlight in this game, just shy of half-time. There is a free kick there to West Tribe FC, but thankfully far too much on that one, and Josh Hawkins can claim it. Hopefully he'll be fit for all of the AFC Champions League this season. That did feel like a big factor in how we did lose that final to Auckland City last season. We'll get through the group stage today and actually see when we're going to take on Auckland City in this competition. There is a chance we could take them on before the final, depending on how the draws do go, but so far 1-0 up. Hopefully can make it to just before half-time. Justin Keat makes his way down the right-hand side. We try and work the ball there into the box through Enrique, gets it back. Now Tsukamoto with a long-range effort, but unfortunately that one just on the wrong side of that right-hand post. Still 1-0 now, a free kick. The goalkeeper there tries to punch it clear. Someone tried to get a hit on that, and then Duty Ray Dom can't quite get a shot on target, so a bit of a chance there just before half-time to make it 2-0, but unfortunately only 1-0 up, starting to assert our dominance quite late in that first half, but honestly a little bit disappointed. We're only 1-0 up. Tomislav Barisic at left back, and his first start for us here, not having a very good game on a 6.3, so even though Adam White not quite at full fitness for this one, we might bring him on to start off the second half, but apart from that, everyone out there's on a decent enough rank, so I think that's the only change that we do need to make. We'll give the boys just a slight rev up here, tell them doing okay, can certainly do better, and hopefully we can pull away and make sure we pick up 3 points in this opening game of the AFC Champions League group stage. And thankfully that halftime team talk as well as that sub might have worked, because an early highlight here, a thrown inside of the final third. Justin Keat does try to square that one, but unfortunately can't quite find a teammate. Now Victor Ross plays that forward to Louis Enrique. Dirty Ray Dom is on the ball, back out there to Enrique, who honestly probably one of our best players so far in this game, having picked up that assist for the goal to Stephen Lopez. Now at the other side for Adam White, he will find him. Shusha squares that one nicely for Lorenzo Johnson. Our central attacking midfielder will give us a buffer goal, and hopefully now we can pull away and pick up a win, unlike what we did last season. Really scratchy performance first up it was in the Champions League, but this time with a more settled squad, as was the plan going into this season. Does look like it might pay off. We're 2-0 up early in the second half. And right off the back of that second goal, now there's a free kick for us here as we do try and put the pressure on Victor Ross with a header there, but unfortunately that one does come off the crossbar, just denied there, a goal to go 3-0 up, still 2-0. And going forward into the last half hour of this game now, as Louis Enrique taking the throw and has gone down to a red heart, so Cullen Elliott will probably come on for him off the back of this highlight. But hopefully we can make it 3-0 and put this game to bed at the moment, just keeping hold of position just outside of the final third. McGoldrick can now find Adam White with some good space out there on the left-hand side. Tries to square that one, is cleared away from a defender there for West Tribe FC. Eventually a shot taken on there on the volley from Ahmed Shusha, and actually takes a touch there off of one of the West Tribe defenders or the goalkeeper. So actually a pretty good stop there for West Tribe FC. Unfortunately, McGoldrick can't quite put the header on target from the subsequent corner, but time now for our second sub, Cullen Elliott, to come on it right back as we're still only 2 goals up. And in fact, only a few minutes on from that sub of Cullen Elliott, now it's Dirty Ray Dom, who's down to a red heart. Coming on for him will be Lapane. And just making our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, and it is now time for our final 2 subs with our last stoppage. 2 players out there down to red hearts. Justin Keat, he can come off. We'll bring on in his place Nathan Walker, he needs the game time, and also Sergio Mosquera, one of our new signings, can come on for Tsukamoto. That's all our subs used. Still looking for just one more goal to put this game to bed as we're 2-0 up, and while we're here, might even try a higher defensive line to see if that makes the difference. And only about 5 minutes on from that slight change that we did make while making those final substitutions, there is a highlight that does now start. Hopefully, as I said, can make this 3-0 and put this game to bed, and hopefully go a long way to securing our passage out of this group. As I've said a few times, unlike last year, where we really did struggle early stages of this Champions League, but the settled lineup does seem to be helping a bit more compared to all the new faces that we did bring in before this tournament last year. McGoldrick, he is on the ball, one of those settled faces, thankfully did not choose to go to Auckland City like he could have. Now Lepane picks out Adam White down that left-hand side, good impact since he's come on the field. Squares that one for Ahmed Shusha. Might have been looking there for Stephen Lopez, but Shusha, the ball does find its way through to. He will pick up a double, and there's that third goal that we've been looking for most of the second half. Adam White, good bench impact as you'd expect from a player who really is way too good for the National League. Is about to enter last 10 minutes of this first game. We've got our 3-goal lead. And just about to enter injury time in this first game of the OFC Champions League for 2030. Pretty comfortable win, thankfully. We did get the job done by 3 goals eventually. Certainly felt like we could have put that game to bed a bit sooner, but to be fair, XG not too different from what we've got there. In 3 goals, they did very little in terms of attack. Never really felt like they'd get us on the counter or anything like that. So that is a good start to the OFC Champions League this season. We'll come back shortly and take on AS Central Sport from Tahiti, as they probably are our toughest opposition. If we beat them, you'd imagine that's our path through the quarterfinals, locked in early. And here are the team sheets for the second game of this season's OFC Champions League. The AS Central Sport from Tahiti off the back of a win on the opening match day. And here we are, pretty close to a full rotation. Most players have not backed up too well. Parasic keeps his spot at left back and Hawkins and Gob. Otherwise, it's a completely new 11, but there you can see currently just on top based on goal differential. Hopefully, we can pick up another win, and that should pretty much lock us in for the quarterfinals. And it hasn't taken quite as long for the first highlight of the second game of our Champions League this season. 7 minutes in, there was a goal kick there to the Tahitians, but they do manage to actually keep the ball there and now look to make their way out from the back. Tehau will there pick out one of his midfielders, and they get it out there to Tehu, plays the ball over the top, but thankfully Elliott is there to tidy things up, just giving some of these players some fitness, and also all our first teamers are quite tired because they did play both the games that we did in pre-season start though, so I guess they were probably due a rest. Hopefully these guys can still do a decent job, even though this team, probably the toughest one we'll take on in the group phase of this competition. Early shot there from Lepane. It takes a massive deflection. It's an own goal, and that's a bit of a lucky goal there, albeit Lepane, I'm not too sure if that shot was that far off target, but we'll certainly take that considering how scratchy we looked at times last season. Always nice to get an own goal. Bit unlucky there because that shot had a lot of power on it, but thankfully 1-0 up there thanks to the efforts of both Cullen Elliott, who did set up that shot for Lepane, and also very powerful effort that one, thankfully. Too much for the defence to deal with there for the Tahitians, and now we're back on the attack from a throw-in only a few minutes later. I say that, now starting to sit around the halfway line and play it back to our centre-backs, but eventually Connor Kerwin plays this forward to the American and Mosquera Gilbert. For there to Hotman de Villiers, tries to chip the goalkeeper and actually comes up there with a really good save. Those chips usually get past the goalkeeper. That's a very good save, but thankfully up 1-0 early, albeit as I'm trying to wrap that up, there is now a free kick in our favour. Paquette for some reason is lying on the ground, not too sure what's gone on there. Hopefully no injury or anything like that, but it's a free kick. We'll see who is taking his time over this one. It's actually Cullen Elliott. Thought that Michael James Gilbert might be on this one. Looking for the top right corner, decent save there yet again from the goalkeeper for this Tahitian outfit to keep it at 1-0. We'll see if anything comes from the subsequent corner. Walker to Gilbert, Paquette back out there to Walker, fizzes that one into the mix, but unfortunately can't quite pick anyone out. Still 1-0, we're about to make our way to the 20-minute mark. And just about to make our way now up to the half-hour mark, and it's a free kick here for us. Good ball down there for Cullen Elliott, who surprisingly was onside, but yet again the goalkeeper there for our opposition in the second game comes up with a really good save to keep it 1-0, so we definitely have chances here to make this 2. Hasn't quite come off yet. And there's a header, it goes over the bar, so it's still 1-0. Does feel like now we really should have had a second goal by this point in the game, only a few minutes on from that prior highlight. Another goal kick here to our opposition. Thankfully, headed down to Hotman de Villiers. We actually do quite well, keep that ball on our right-hand side. Mosquera is now on the ball, the young American making his first start for us here at Cashmere Technical. Don't expect to see too much more of him this season once we can play Taylor Tamer, but nice flick on there from Nathan Walker to Paquette. That's been given as a penalty, which is a bit surprising. Just looked like they're all three players kind of tripped over each other, but apparently someone brought down Paquette in anger, and a chance here for Nathan Walker to make it 2-0. He goes straight down the middle and eventually does beat Tamatai, who's having a very good game here for AS Central Sport out of Tahiti. But thankfully, just before halftime, we do eventually grab a buffer goal and make it 2-0. And it looks like that will do it for the first half of our second game of this OFC Champions League group phase in 2030. Pretty similar situation to the first game, but thankfully this time actually going to the sheds with a 2-0 lead. Probably should have 3 goals as the XG suggests, but obviously boosted up quite a bit by that penalty, which thankfully Nathan Walker did put away. Everyone out there on a decent rating as well, so I don't think any changes are needed. We get the second half underway with a 2-0 lead and a long way towards making the quarterfinals already. And it hasn't taken long here for the first highlight of the second half, a corner in our favour. Have just noticed that Gil Pickett actually only on a 6.4 after that first half, but decent chance he steps up there for Courtney Perkins, but unfortunately that header almost loops over their goalkeeper, then comes off the crossbar, so we are denied by the woodwork, albeit off the back of that. Another chance for us here. This time Walker takes that corner on the other side. Paquette will cut inside, try to put that one top left corner. Yet again, Tamatai comes up there with a good save for AS Central Sport. He's certainly having a good game. Probably the main reason this one has not blown out any further. Unfortunately, Connor Kerwin can't quite put that header on target, and it's still 2-0 early stages in the second half. But off the back of that, it is a free kick a long way out, but Callan Elliott might be lining this one up. He takes it short. Gilbert picks out to Hotman de Villiers, and he was onside, so the short free kick routine, it works yet again. Did look like there to Hotman de Villiers was probably offside, but apparently not. We'll see if we get a decent replay angle of that, but Gilbert plays that one forward. Boy, looks offside, but he beats Tamatai. That makes it 3-0. We'll just see if we get a decent replay angle. We don't, but I'm guessing he must have been on when we go 3-0 up. And only a couple of minutes on from that third goal, now we really start to put the pressure on here in the second half, albeit a bit of an average ball over there for Hotman de Villiers, but he does quite well to recover. Walker plays that back to Elliott. Now Nathan Walker cuts inside. Bit of a shot there, but it's not a very strong one, and Tamatai can make one of the easiest saves he's had to so far in this game. Keeps it at 3-0, but it does feel like this time looking a bit sharper than we were last season in the group stages of the Champions League, and we should be going through to the quarterfinals with really not much to play for in that final game. Again, we find a Hotman de Villiers on that left-hand side off back of that third goal. He scored nice work there. He squares that one for Paquette. Rather fortunately falls back to him after one of the AS Central Sport defenders there gets a touch on it, puts it past Tamatai at his near post. That makes it 4-0, and really that should be game, set, match and quarterfinals for us here at Cashmere Technical. A little bit lucky how that ball fell back to him, but Paquette makes it 4-0, just shy of the hour mark. And we continue to put the pressure on here just past the hour mark now after taking that 4-0 lead. Another corner here. Paquette will float this one near post, looking for Courtney Perkins. Yet again, comes off the woodwork and goes over for a goal kick that time to AS Central Sport, albeit right off the back of that, there's an injury. It's to Hotman de Villiers. We haven't made any subs so far in this game. Shusha's going to have to come on here at left wing, or we could actually bring on Al Ghazali and move Michael Gilbert to left wing. That might be a sensible idea, or even actually play Al Ghazali as a shadow striker. So that could be the option as we go in to the later stages of this game. So we're going to try that off the back of that injury to Hotman de Villiers. Hopefully that's not too serious, albeit is a backup player, so it's not the worst thing. But I think that's the only sub we need to make. Still 4-0 up with 20 minutes left. And shortly off the back of that injury and forced sub, we are now down the other end, and really AS Central Sport here are on the attack for the first time. They go near post, thankfully. We can head that one away, albeit that's a really good goal there from Brandon. Not even going to try and pronounce that last name. Pacific Island names are pretty good with the pronunciation, but not at short notice like that. I will not get that one right, but that is a really good goal, especially as someone there puts some pretty good pressure on him. Still beats Hawkins there at the near post, and they make it 4-1, but hopefully that's just a consolation goal, and we're through the quarterfinals. And just making our way into the last 5 minutes of this game plus injury time, fairly comfortable. They grab that goal back there with 20 minutes left. Now Barisic goes down to Red Hart. We'll play things safe Adam White can come on for him, but honestly, pretty happy with how our backup team is doing here. Hopefully it does mean we can play them again in this next game, keep the first teamers fresh when we do get stuck in to the rest of pre-season as well as the Southern League part of the National League. But that is a pretty solid win 4-1 stats-wise. AS Central Sport did offer a bit more than the first opposition that we did take on in today's episode, but that is a pretty comfortable win back at the GMP. Of course, even though we were technically the away team, we pick up a win there in front of our home fans. I'm pretty sure that should be enough for us to make our way through to the quarterfinals. And before I go forward and play that last group stage game of this OFC Champions League off camera, seeing as I do think now we're in a pretty safe space to make our way through to the quarterfinals. To Hotman de Villiers, just a quick update on him. Twisted knee, out for 5 to 6 days, so it does mean he'll miss this next game in 4 days, but thankfully nothing too serious, and hopefully we can pick up at least a point there to make sure we go through as top qualifiers. And we've gone forward to the completion of all groups in the OFC Champions League for 2030. Here was the result from our last game, which we have now played a little while ago back at the GMP. To Papa Mararenga actually got off to a really hot start here, and we somehow found ourselves 2-0 down at home, but thankfully off the back of that, got our X into gear for the most part in the second half, 2-2 at half-time thanks to goals to Lepane and Paquette. He picked up a second in the second half. Nathan Walker with a double from the penalty spot, and also Declan Tyndall coming in for Hotman de Villiers. He picked up a goal, and eventually we ran away with a 6-2 win. That one definitely the most dodgy performance we've had so far in the Champions League this season, but thankfully we pick up a win, which based on the XG, about the margin that we did deserve, but frustrating that we conceded 2 of the 3 shots that were on target, but thankfully we pick up a win, and it did mean we make our way very comfortably out of Group 8, as do AS Central Sport, albeit that by not nearly as big a margin. They just go through because their goal differential slightly better than the teams out of the Cook Islands, as well as Papua New Guinea, going down to Group B, which was also taking part around the same time as our group was. Tafia, who I'm pretty sure we took on last season, they topped that group, and also playing Guinea Sport from New Caledonia also make their way through the Green Gold Liners, and AS Tefana, they get knocked out. Group C and D, they took place a little bit later, a couple of weeks off back of our ones. Auckland City, they were down here seeing as apparently they get a bigger pre-season than we do, which I suppose is fair, being a professional club and all, but they cruise through with 9 points. The Henderson Eels yet again finished behind them in the group. Erakorgies and Lautoka, they get knocked out. And Group D, Nauvoo top this one, 3 wins from 3 for the Fijian outfit, and Horizon Pafo make their way out from New Caledonia. The Solomon Warriors and Panzer East, they get knocked out, do their team out of American Samoa. So those are results for the group stages of this OFC Champions League, and now it's time for us to see who we get in both the quarters and the semis. So we'll see if it's going to be yet again lined up for a final against Auckland City, or if we might take them on a bit sooner. Hopefully don't get them quite so soon as the quarterfinals, but there's definitely a chance we could get them in the semis, and they are the first team out of the head. I'm not too sure if these are seeded. You'd hope so, but it doesn't say so, so we'll see if we maybe take them on in what would feel like a very unfair quarterfinal, but thankfully they will take on King Guinea Sport out of New Caledonia. So really, we should be cruising through the quarterfinals of this competition. Tafia are next out of the hat. They will take on AS Central Sport. We are next up, hopefully going to take on one of the teams that did finish second in their group. Indeed, that's the case. We take on Horizon Pafo from New Caledonia, and that sets up Nauvoo from Fiji against the Henderson Eels in the other quarterfinal. And now we'll see if we have to take on Auckland City in the semis. Now, to be fair, I actually think this might be our best chance of winning the Champions League if we get to play them over 2 legs, so they can't upset us in one. So I don't think I'd actually mind it, as long as we don't bottle things like we sometimes do. First up, it is us. We'll see if it might be an all-New Zealand semi-final. Indeed it is, so hopefully we have a better chance of beating Auckland City over 2 legs than we do in just one. To be fair, if there's a few upsets, could also be a New Caledonian semi-final, but you'd imagine we'll both make our way past those teams in the quarterfinals, and that does mean that if we can get past Auckland City in the semis will take on the winner of a tie between Nauvoo or the Henderson Eels and Tawhia or AS Central Sport. You'd imagine AS Central Sport probably won't get too much further, only picking up one win in the group phases of this season's OFC Champions League. And also before we wrap things up, for today's episode has been a bit of interest in some of our players. We'll just see if it's still over here in the transfer centre. Indeed it is. Adam White, there was a big coming for him from DC United. I know I said late last week would let these guys go if some professional clubs from overseas did come after them, just not while I've had to register players for the OFC Champions League, because that could kind of be a bit of an issue if we sell them right now. So just holding out for the moment for these bids from some big clubs for Adam White, and also no doubt Justin Keat might be getting some soon as well. But as I said, just want to make sure we've got our full squad available for the Champions League, because I don't think we can register new players once we sell those ones. But that will do it for today's episode. Thankfully make our way through the group stages of the Champions League a little bit cleaner than we did last season, and that sets up a tie against Horizon Sport de Pafo from New Caledonia in the quarterfinals, and it probably also means we take on Auckland City in the semi-finals. If you enjoyed today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. Next week we'll work our way through the finals of this OFC Champions League and also throw in a bit of Southern League as well, depending on how each league of the knockouts do go. And obviously, if we actually make our way through to the final, early warning, there'll only be 3 episodes of this series on the channel next week. I'll probably put them out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a couple of days up at hospital for some diabetic stuff. So I'm going to take some days off making videos, because I'll probably be a bit time stressed to make 5 for you guys next week. So just 3 videos. So we'll probably make our way through the rest of this Champions League. And the week after, we should be pretty close to the 2030 FIFA World Cup, but a few less episodes next week because I'm up getting some diabetic stuff done. Apologies for that, but until the start of next week, for at least one leg of the quarterfinal of the OFC Champions League, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.